One river, three brothers, 250 years. EC250 Inc. proudly presents the Sesquicentennial Commemorative Celebration of Ellicott City, Maryland.
Hi, I'm Victoria Goodman, founding board member of EC250, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to raise awareness of this wonderful 250th anniversary year of Ellicott City, Maryland. As you can see from the magazine that I'm holding, we have a beautiful rendition of the town on the cover, and I'm so pleased that I have this opportunity today to talk to the artist, Ellicott City native son, Wiley Purkey.
Hello.
Hi, Wiley, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, and it's nice that we can just talk informally because, you know, the nervousness is gone now, right?
Yeah, I hope so. So here we are in what we weren't sure was ever going to happen, and now it happened.
We make things happen.
A solo exhibition here in the old Ellicott Theater.
Yes.
And it's an exhibition of your work, and it's called A Brush with History.
Yes.
So tell us about the project.
Well, the project came into being as an idea because the town was turning 250 years old, and way back 50 years ago, the town had a little thing called the Bicentennial. And here I am in the art exhibit, which was on the street. Believe it or not, they used to close off the street from traffic in both directions. Here I am with hair, 19 years old, in my red and white barbershop quartet jacket. And I actually won a prize that year for Best Painting of Ellicott City, something I really treasure, and here's my actual ribbon. And it's for Best Painting of Ellicott City, 1972. So how could I not do something for this big celebration? I'm still alive and I'm still painting, so why not?
Well, we're really glad that you decided to do this because it's certainly helping us a whole lot to raise the town up. And the town has so very many stories.
Yeah, millions.
Millions of stories. And what is wonderful about being able to bring this visual story to people is a whole new audience. They're going to discover the town through your paintings and memories that you had as a child growing up here.
Yes, yes.
So right here you've brought with you, I think one of the early pieces that you did of the town.
Yes, here we are, 1974. My first real job in the art community, in the art business, was actually working for Olin's Art Shop down on Main Street. I got my first oil painting set there at 13 years old. Anyway, fast forward, 1974, I decided once again to do a little promotional drawing of the town. It's done in the style of the, what you call them, 19th century wood engravings that were used to illustrate Harper's Weekly. And it's an ink drawing, and it encompasses what was thought of as most of the historic sites in that day.
It's going to be interesting as people see the evolution of your work from this style into what you're going to talk about in a minute, but as we look at the other paintings in the series of Brush with History. But let's take a look at this one,
Yes.
just to show how things have changed.
Yes, I have this one here, and it's a similar format, a little bit more formal in that everything is balanced. I tried to include all the historic sites, and you know what, in a town with this many historic sites, you just can't do it. It would be a billboard. So I went through and edited down to what I thought were the most important ones, and then of course we have an overview. This is actually drawn on an iPad using an iPencil, sitting on the sofa watching television with my wife Claudia. Then they're all individual drawings, and then she took it and composited it all together into Photoshop for this nice print. It is a limited edition print of 250 years old, which, wonder where the idea came from? EC250, yeah, okay, 250, that's my number. So that's kind of the style I mostly work in today when I'm doing illustrations.
So it's amazing, you know, how techniques have changed.
Yep.
And how the town has changed, but it hasn't really changed all that much.
It changes all the time, and yet some things are still always the same, like the theater, again, since 1940. This style so at some point I decided that, you know, I need to do something. So I decided to do a couple of paintings, and I thought, well, it is 50 years since the Bicentennial, so why don't I do 50 paintings? I mean, if you're going to have a crazy idea, why not, you know, make it over the top? But they're all done, not like this newer style, but they're all done in my old style, which I've worked in for quite some time.
So let's talk about one that's behind us right now,
Okay.
because this is a favorite of mine, and it's Paul's Market.
Well,
Of course,
perhaps-
the building right here, I think that...
Why don't I just grab it?
Sure.
I know I'm not supposed to go off camera, but hey, you know, it's that kind of day, you know? So here we have Paul's Market, yes. All of these paintings were done on site at every single location. For a case like Paul's Market, where it's been gone many years, I painted the painting as much as I could on site, and then later went back to the studio and grabbed all my reference material and added all the details that it would have been in its day. And what you have in the scene here is my friend Billy and I buying a watermelon, which we would do every summer, and we'd go up by the courthouse and eat that thing until we were both sick. Here we have Alice waiting at the door to make sure that we pay for that watermelon.
That's great. I love oysters. Oysters are
Yeah,
available
oysters,
there.
and you know they had all live animals, fresh killed, and
Yes.
you know, that was Paul's
Muskrats,
Market.
probably,
Yeah.
right?
One memorable occasion on our way up to the courthouse to eat our watermelon, we stopped in to show it off at the the Ellicott City or the Howard County Library, which was then in the Firehouse
In this
Museum.
building?
Yes,
Yeah.
and it rolled off and hit the floor and splattered into a million
Jeez.
pieces.
If people come to town now, Wiley, what do we see here? This is
The wine.
Pure Wine?
Pure Wine
Pure
Cafe,
Wine
yes.
Cafe,
Yes,
right.
and it's been so many things, but
Yeah.
I think they've been there quite some time.
and you can just see a little bit of the Howard House.
Yep,
right
Howard
over
House
there,
here.
right?
But Paul's Market is,
Yeah.
again, I'm, not necessarily recording the way it is today, but I'm thinking about the past 50 years in some of these paintings.
Right, it's an iconic, certainly memory for a lot of people who have been in town and come through town a lot. So.
And this frame is kind of an example of the kind of frames I've added. It's made of just regular framing material with some parquet flooring, some children's blocks, and some Lincoln log parts.
Yeah, the frames are such a big piece of all of the prints, and we're going to talk about them a little more as we take a walk around the gallery.
Okay.
So let's
roll.
All right.
All right, we start here with the Forget-Me-Not factory facade, which for a time was blocked by a UPS truck while I was painting. And here we have Barry as Father Christmas out front with his magic bubble wand, and at Christmas time. This 19th century facade was destroyed in the flood of 2018, so as you painfully remember. And he saved a lot of these pieces, these elements of the architecture. And so a couple of weeks ago, when it came time to frame this, I went, Barry, you got to give me some of those parts. So this surround is all pieces that were made salvaged from the facade. And of course, I put some glass bubbles in.
Well, that's a wonderful example of how the frames themselves are just a total piece of the art here. And of course, it's great that Barry had this. And what Barry has done to the facade to protect it from future floods is pretty amazing.
Yes, he's added flood-proof doors and windows, yes.
He and his wife, I know, it's a wonderful store, and a lot of people, they associate the Bubble Man with Ellicott City.
Yeah, absolutely, inseparable.
Yes. So we're going to go past
All right.
Angela's Castle here, but
Over
we
here.
are going to stop at this one.
Over here, we're going to stop at what's known as the Oliver Viaduct, and for those historians, all that remains of this scene is this singular viaduct where the Tiber River goes through, and of course this building over here. So what I did in this case is I sat up on the street and I shadowed in all the details I could, the scale of the trees and all that. And then I went back to the studio and I had to look up through all the reference material that I have to replicate the handrail and the supports. And of course, this would have been originally the Railroad Hotel. I think that they dropped off passengers. You could go directly to the hotel.
Right into the
and then
hotel.
to the station that way.
It was also the Dapsco Hotel, I think.
It was Dapsco Hotel. It's been called a number of things.
Yeah.
Also, these two arches were removed, I think in the 1930s, by the B&O Railroad and replaced with a steel truss bridge, or steel girder bridge, in fact.
So people coming into town headed west from Baltimore County,
Yeah.
they're going to be coming right
Straight
there.
through here, right through Main Street, right there.
That's great. Let's walk on up.
Okay.
And of course, I'm going to stop at my favorite.
Oh, your
this,
favorite.
my
Yeah,
favorite.
you just have to own this one. This
I
one has
wish
to be,
if they were
yeah.
ever for sale, why?
I know. Well, it's kind of hard to part with.
Someday, maybe.
Take me a few years to part with them. Anyway, this is looking up towards Main Street. Everybody knows the famous bridge and Angelo Castle, and of course, there's our Dapsco Hotel again. looking across the Patapsco River. This is a scene I painted dozens of times. Actually, I think I actually have a print here. Once again, this is done prior to actually, my reference material is my own photographs prior to the flood of '72. So it shows the wagon sheds, which were all washed away during that time.
And one of the things, let's point out to people, we talked about it earlier, was the change in style.
Change in style.
Your
in fact,
style,
yes.
yes.
This is watercolor, and this is an oil painting. And
Very different.
In fact, it was not snowing that day. It was a sunny day, but I painted on site. And
I love all the paintings that have snow in them.
and you know, it just distinguishes the town a little bit, and I like to add it. So I sat there on a nice sunny day and pretended it was snowing.
Pretended it was snowing, yeah.
And then once again, there's another, I don't know, 8 or so versions of the same scene.
Thing, yeah.
Different seasons, different types of paint, different approaches.
It is the most iconic
It's an
view
iconic
of Ellicott
town.
City.
Yes,
There's no
indeed it
question.
is.
I love
Yes.
it. I love it. Well, here's
So-
one up here that.
Well, we're going to
it's
go
not
past
a-
karaoke.
We're going to
just
go
skip
past
on.
that. But this one up here, here's one that you did have to do a whole lot from memory.
Hey, Mallet said frame, I forgot. Yeah, okay. All right, so Clark's. Many people will remember E.T. Clark Hardware when it was, well, I should say just Clark's Hardware when it was on Main Street, I'm sorry, not Main Street, Maryland Avenue, just across from the train station. And this is Easter when they used to actually dye the little baby chicks with food coloring. And this is a local young lady named Sandy. And I emailed her. Remember, it's technology. I don't use phones anymore. We email. And I said, Sandy, what color dress were you wearing? She says, it would have been blue. So in the interest of historic accuracy, I paint Sandy in a blue dress, looking at the colorful chicks in the window.
It's so amazing Clark's is still around.
Yep.
They're up on Route 40
We're a
now,
sponsor
the
of
family.
EC 250.
Yes, they are, very much so. We thank them very much for that. There's a banner down on the bridge with their name, and one of my favorite places to shop, honestly. So
And then what else we got? We want to do
let's
maybe,
walk across here.
Okay. We'll
See
do
what's
what?
on the other
PFI
side.
perhaps?
Yeah, let's take a look there.
Okay. I'll let you talk about that, but I'll just
Here it
quickly.
is right here. That's 50
There we
too.
are. All right. so
PFI.
PFI,
Yes.
yeah, because sometimes it doesn't just roll off the tongue. So here we have PFI, built in 1837 as a ladies' finishing school or a girls' school. It was one of the first schools in America to teach botany,
Higher education.
higher
for women.
education, mathematics,
Yes.
astronomy, and other sciences.
Definitely other sciences.
Here they're out with their flower bouquets on a nice spring day, overlooked by,
Elmira Hart Lincoln Phelps.
she's got a lot of names.
Yes, she
doesn't
does,
So
yeah.
she's keeping the girls in check.
Headmistress.
Headmistress,
Towards
yes.
the end of
its
the
history,
time there.
yeah. And so, of course, the frame is made of various pieces of wood, including, when I renovated my house, these are the closet poles that I turn around. So, you know, everything is fair game in making frames.
Let's talk about, it's so interesting, I'm so glad that you included the flowers in this, because the event that we are going to be doing in June to celebrate EC 250 is a special garden planting and ribbon cutting up at PFI.
Yes, I've heard about that.
And the young women are carrying flowers, and it's so interesting because the garden that we're going to be opening is based on the journal of a student, Mary Jourdan Coleman, who went to the school, and her journal was found, and there were flower pressings from the time she was at the
Wow.
school. So the Howard County Garden Club, along with Howard County Recreation and Parks, are working towards an interpretive display that tells Elmira Hart Lincoln's story and the girls, and the garden is going to be based on these native plants, these flower cuttings.
That's great that they had that source material. They're not just putting in flowers and going, there's some flowers there. They're going, these are what the young girls saw in their day.
Yes, as much as they could, for sure. They're basing it on that. The research was done by a researcher at Howard County Recreation and Parks Heritage Division. Just happened upon the journal down in Richmond, Virginia.
The things that turn up,
It
I
is.
mean,
And the connections that are made.
Yeah,
So,
awesome.
Great story here. Let's go on down.
all righty. All right, so how about we come down here to Tersegel's restaurant?
Yes, yes. A lot of people familiar, I'm sure. Tell me
Yes.
about it. This is a night scene.
It's a night scene, even though it's painted during the day, and you know.
A lot of dinners down there.
A lot of dinners down there, yes. So I do know what nighttime looks like, so I'm able to, you know, kind of get the lighting right, get the moonlight and all that. And that's why this is so bright. It's got a lot of moonlight on it. And then we have the light showing where people are still having dinner.
I love the French flag.
The French flag is here, and it's of course in the idea of making the frame part of that. The frame has red, white, and blue children's blocks around the side.
And we talk about generations once again.
Yes.
Fernand began the restaurant here.
The restaurant. I remember when he first came to town, he said, Wiley, I came to town in the bicentennial. And I said, Fernand, no, I remember. You came in, I messed up the years. What was the years? The bicentennial. I said, no, you came in, that was 72. No, that was too early. And he was thinking about the United States bicentennial.
Right, gotcha.
And of course, I don't really remember that. I only remember the Ellicott City bicentennial because it's 4 years before the United States was a country.
Isn't that?
So of course that's the one I'm thinking about.
A lot of people really do not realize that.
Yeah. So here he is, in Tercegel's restaurant, which has been in a number of locations. The owner cook now is Michel Tercegel, which is his son.
Yes.
Which when I was many years ago taking my dates down to, before I was married, Claudia, sorry. Down to dinner. Michelle was actually the busboy. He would clear our table, and here he is now.
This is our second location.
Generations of history. In my time as a child, speaking of children, this was the Howard County Health Department. Got my polio vaccine here.
Geez.
Yeah. Well, when you're here a long time, buildings change and different uses.
For me, a lot of good memories. My son's rehearsal dinner in this top floor for his wedding, and a very special celebratory dinner in the wine cellar. A good friend of mine celebrating a nice victory. And along with Fernand himself.
Yes, you're reminding me. My 40th birthday party was here. Yeah.
And a lot of people still making this restaurant memories, special events
Absolutely.
today.
New occasions, yes.
Wonderful food, wonderful. Now this one looks a little familiar, but I do want to talk about this because this is what we chose to be on the cover of our 250th commemorative magazine.
Yes.
I love it. We're getting such great reviews. People love this painting, Wiley. So tell us.
Well, of course I make prints of these. I know this is going to be the first one to sell out, but that's okay. So this is looking up Church Road and down Main Street. I mean, anywhere you go in Ellicott City, you've got to deal with these hills. We're actually in this building at the moment with this video shooting. This is the original Ellicott Theater built in 1940, which I think we'll talk about later. But it shows the theater, Marquis, Columbia, Pike, Taylor's. And then, of course, it shows the original firehouse, which, as I recall, was built in 1889. It was built in this location. You can see the fire bell, which I think, I'm almost certain was donated by the B&O Railroad off of a steam engine.
Originally, yes.
So they put this here so they had a horse-drawn firefighting wagon here, and they could roll it down Main Street to any fire location in town.
Get a running
with
start.
men, get a running start, fight the fire, and then they had a team of horses pull it back and park it back into the firehouse. This actually has been, the bell tower itself was down to about that high, and it has been restored. In fact, the whole building, of course, has been restored, but it's been put back to its original configuration.
It's owned and operated now by Howard County, again, Recreation and Parks Heritage Division, and it is a museum inside. It's open on weekends.
Right.
Have to check the website to make sure what the dates are, but EC250 is going to have a small office in there beginning in the spring, so hopefully we'll get to talk to people and tell them a whole lot about what's going on this year.
And of course, it operates as a firefighting museum.
Right, exactly.
Local firehouse museum, that's what it's called now.
Yeah, a lot of interesting things inside, there's no question about it.
And for the frame, once again, this is a burned piece of wood, little fire department reference. And then I tried to make it sort of charcoal, and you get the smoke coming up the sides, and little marble tiles, painted fire colors, again, trying to make the frame an extension and to tell part of the history of the painting.
Well, interestingly that you point out, and that we chose this one for the cover, and that this is a very popular one, and we know it's going to be very popular. People are already asking us, is there going to be a poster? We don't know yet, but we do love it, and this is one we're going to be holding out. EC250 is going to be holding out for maybe a little special auction towards the end,
for the
number one print of this.
Yes.
Yeah. I did want to stop and talk about this one. Again, we have a generational theme going here, and this is just iconic for sure.
Yes, there's hardly anybody around that's been here a while that does not remember Yates Market and Yates Hardware. Mr. Yates had the market, Mrs. Yates had the hardware store.
It's kind of interesting.
It's a little interesting reversal way before its
Right.
time, which I always found interesting. Mrs. Yates, Dorothea Yates, I would go in here as a child, and because I would always visit the local merchants until they would get bored and throw me out. And she would always be doing chair caning in there. And I would see her working on caning the chair. I'd go back a month later, and she was still working on, to me, what seemed to be the same chair. She must have been working on a set of 6 or something like that, but it always made me laugh. It's like, are you still working on that same chair? And then, of course, Mr. Yates was known far and wide for his recipe for sage sausage. Everyone came to buy there, to buy it from him. And in fact, not this Coke machine, but inside they had one of those ones where you lift up and you put your hands in that ice water and you take the Coke, your soda out. And I actually have that machine at home myself.
That's very neat. Well, you know, we, EC250, we have a special connection and a special affinity for Yates. Betty Yates Jacobs is on our honorary committee.
Yes.
And she's very excited. It wasn't that many years ago that she sold the store itself, you know. And it's not there any longer. It's I believe it's a dress shop now. It's in there. I can't. But wasn't that long ago. And interesting that you talk about, remember, canings. Betty caned a piece for me.
You still have the chair?
It wasn't a chair, it's a hassock, really. And Betty did it, and so, again, generations.
Another little bit of history that I just remembered is, you know, I always do the Ellicott City Plein Air events in July, where we all, 50 or so artists, show up on the street and paint. And I painted this because I knew it was long after it was no longer Yates. I think Betty still was running the store as Yates, and it was the last day. And I painted the facade on the last day, and I said, now, are you going to come back? I'd like to paint the inside. And I think she was coming back, but she didn't, and so I never did. It was the last day that they were open, and I never did get to paint the inside, which I regret.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly for the people who've been around town a long time, it's a great memory. It's a beautiful piece. So we're going to end on this one. And we're going to end on this one because, like you said earlier, we're in this building,
here.
Right?
We're like back in there somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're in here. And this, of course, is the well-known Ellicott Theater. I think the last movie I saw here was Woodstock.
Well, the first movie I saw here was Old Yeller.
Old Yeller, yes. We're dating ourselves.
We are, definitely.
Yes. My mom, right behind me is the secret back door entrance, and one of the family members would come in, and they'd sit in there and they'd wedge the door open. They could all sneak in, all 6 kids, and watch Hopalong Cassidy films, of course, for free instead of paying the quarter, which was a lot of money.
Yeah, back then.
So here we have the facade, and I do not think the Goddess movie ever played here. It may have, I just don't remember. The Goddess was filmed in Ellicott City, mostly in Ellicott City, and it was supposedly portraying...
it was a young starlet based loosely on Marilyn Monroe's
life, yes. And so here I've got the Goddess on the screen, on the marquee, and I've got the movie poster in the advertising. I think you have a copy of this?
Yes, up at the Milltown to City exhibit that is up at the Welcome Center, just not even a block up the road.
And then again, in my time, this was Eddie's Luncheonette, and Eddie's sold hamburgers, sodas, fountains, or ice cream, magazines, model cars, and tropical fish, if you can imagine.
Oh, geez, one stop.
One stop for all the fun, and I love this store.
I bet.
Mr. and Mrs. Eddie is working here, and her twin sons, their twin sons sometimes work in the store, so they're
one of the things I love about this painting is I love how, you know, here's the hill, and you see it right there.
You see the hill.
That, and I also love that, you know, this is one of the buildings in town. The architecture in this building is not the usual granite architecture that you're used to. It's very Art Deco. And you've picked this up in your frame here too.
Yes, I think there was a grocery and a laundry, and it was a wooden building that burned in 1939, as I recall, obviously not from my own memory, but from history, because I wasn't born then, I'm not quite that old. So this was built in 1940 in the Art Deco style. I believe it's the only Art Deco building in Ellicott City, if not the entire county. And of course, for its frame, I tried to replicate the fluting from these terracotta columns. And then they had these interesting panels, so I did that with some marble tile across the top.
Well, Wiley, we're going to end here, but I want to mention how wonderful it is that the old theater has been renovated, and it's absolutely lovely
It's a great space.
where we are now. It is beautiful. What it's going to be when it finally grows up, we're unsure at this point, but we certainly hope that it's something really special that adds to the town. We know it will be. We know it will be, and what a wonderful opportunity to at least have it for this little bit of time that we had it for your exhibitions. So.
Yes, it makes a great gallery, and I'm very thankful to the owners of the property to allow us to use it.
Yeah.
It's the only place probably around that can house all 50 paintings in one room.
Yes, exactly.
You can see them all at once.
And it really highlights it. It's just beautiful. So it's great.
All right, thank you.
So we hope you enjoyed this walk along Main Street through Wiley Purkey's eyes. I know I did. And I think experiencing these paintings in person will even be more special if you have the opportunity to do so. You can visit our website and find out when the next showing will be, and also encourage you to visit Wiley's Etsy shop to see what's there for you to possibly purchase. And I want to end here with my favorite behind me, and to also mention that EC250 is having a raffle. It's online, and we are going to be raffling off the #1 print of almost each of these. The raffle has begun. We're doing it seasonal. We're filming this in winter, and we will have 4 different opportunities for you for a very reasonable $5 to purchase a ticket to win one of these absolutely marvelous, colorful, whimsical, lovely stories in and of themselves of Ellicott City. Thank you very much, Wiley Purkey, for everything.
EC250 Inc. is presented by the Clayground Studio and Gallery and through the generous grant support of the Howard County Government and the Maryland Heritage Area Authority.